Wow, you recorded right away, huh?
That's how I go.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing, Lena? You doing all right?
Good, good. Yes,
So
that's
I
awesome.
I wanted to get you on here, Lena, because I heard you on my friend Better Call Daddy. Heard you on the podcast. And I love to explore different, you know, topics on the podcast. And what we want to talk about with you today is something that is, still happening worldwide, and it needs to be stopped. So kind of really quickly before we get to the depth, explain kind of a little bit of your story.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so I would have never imagined that actually after 20 years of silence, this is what I would be doing. And thank you so much for inviting me. And I thought in the past that my story is a story of shame, guilt, and condemnation. And now I know it's got story of salvation. So I'm Lena Cebula. I am a wife and mother of three beautiful children, and I'm social justice advocate, and I'm author of Love and Beloved. I'm author of a book called Miraculous, but I am a host of Love and Beloved podcast as well. But my story starts in Ukraine. My parents, I was born and raised in Ukraine, and my parents struggled in their marriage, and they became an alcoholics and lost their well-paid jobs. So I'm just curious. I'm trying to get like into this groove of podcasting, but um, do you want me to summarize like in general my story? Are you going live or how does we go? Because I'm feeling
No,
funny.
no, we're all pre-recorded. So
Okay.
this is not gonna go up for a little bit. But anything that you want, like if you say anything on here, we want it retracted, we can always
Mhm.
just, eliminate it from the podcast, edit it out. But I kind of I don't want you to give me a summary. I kind of want to go through it, and we'll go through it together if you're cool with that, Lena. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Because I
like
just want to get a feel how you want to do this because we kind of launch into it. I'm like, do you want me to tell my story or you want to ask some questions? You know,
yeah.
just yeah, ask me.
Everybody's different. And so
Mhm.
but so you mentioned that you grew up in a a Ukrainian iron mining town, correct? It kind of what
Mhm.
so kind of explain what was that like living there before, the thing that we're going to talk about actually happened.
Yes, it's very interesting because I usually call it before the hell break loose.
Right.
That was their time. And I remember it was good. Lots of people have different opinion about communism and being like part of USSR, but you have to understand, I was a kid. So I didn't really think about the political matters at that time. I was thinking about the fact that my parents still together, they have jobs and it's everything is normal. We have food and friends, we're going on vacations, visiting some friends, barbecuing, parties, like just all the normal stuff. And then um, I was a kid who loved to explore and have a freedom. Now I kind of understand that was neglect too when two parents working. It's it's a little bit different than the way I take care of my kids this time, but I loved it. It's allowed me to explore, to be who I am, to learn. I have tons of friends, and it was awesome. I loved my childhood, especially my grandparents were around and they helped me a lot with learning as well. They taught me how to read and write, and my grandpa taught me how to play chess. They always treat me like almost like adult with respect and love. So it was glorious. Like I remember myself at 10 years old, I taught the I don't know, life is my oyster, and it was beautiful. But so Ukraine claimed independence in 91, so I was 11 years old. So that's for the first time I start noticing that my parents actually have a problems in their marriage. But of course, as any kid, you probably don't see it because it's too close. Plus, like, you're not mature enough to understand what's going on with the family.
It's
But
also like, you're busy playing. You're not having to worry about paying bills or, who's going to put food on the table. You're not, that's your parents' job. So like, that's like me growing up. I wasn't worried. I didn't know we didn't have much, but you had everything, even though you didn't have much. It's when, but that's the rough side about being a child is you don't understand it till you grow up, and then you're like, oh, this is what mom and dad went through. This is rough, you know.
or when it's changed, everything was fine, so I never even thought about it. And then they start drinking, they start like swearing and arguing. So right away I was on alert because it was something weird going on. And then of course I later on, like you said, when you look into it, I saw their marriage never been really strong enough to hold on or withstand the stress, because now they in the factory, they don't get paid, then it's hit inflation, they lost all their money and savings, then the country fall apart, then everybody around them start divorcing and drinking and partying, and it was just like chaos. So now I do understand that, but for that time I was just in shock. So I was the product of my environment, so I started drinking and smoking as well because everybody did it. So it wasn't it was a norm. So I didn't even think about that 13-year-old shouldn't smoke. You know what I mean? But because of the crazy parties and the strangers were coming and going through my house, they brought the booze and drugs. And my parents by that time already were alcoholics. They lost their jobs, and the government turned off electricity and hot water for outstanding bills. And I was literally starving all the time, and my home was nasty. It wasn't clean, was infested with mold and cockroaches and mice, and we struggle in poverty trying to survive. So at that time, parents really didn't care about me anymore, and they did nothing to protect me. So I became an easy target for those strangers, and I was raped numerous times in the basement of my own apartment. So when the things couldn't get any worse, I thought like there is no worse than that. 1 month before my 15th birthday, I woke up with this severe abdominal pain, and scared and confused, I realized that I was in labor, and I didn't know I was pregnant, and I didn't know who her father was. So I knew that it's gonna be their health complications. And yeah, my daughter passed away 3 months after, and I buried her. I literally carried the casket to the cemetery in my arms, and for the next 20 years that image has plagued my mind and my soul. So I was suffering with depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, and I started using alcohol and drugs to medicate my pain.
Did you realize though, when your daughter passed away and you started using, was there kind of something that hit your mind where how long was it before you were like, I'm like deep in this, I can't get myself out?
Oh, it was pretty fast, but it was escape for me. I keep saying that because that was the moment I didn't want to die per se, but there was a moment I didn't want to leave either. I didn't want to hear what my mind saying to me. I didn't want to feel. I don't want to function in general, and that's what really drugs and alcohol literally helped me to cope with being alive.
So is it safe to say that you were consistently like running from like problems? Like you were trying to figure out how to deal with another problem by running to another problem.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think like I ever really thought that my addiction was a problem that time, because compared to what was happening in real life, it was like almost like my safe place, just be checked out. And later on, I turned to heroin because it's hold longer, and it's better to be high than feeling worthless, abandoned, broken, and hopeless, so hopeless.
So you start using and you start doing alcohol. You've lost your child at the age of 15, I think you said. What happens next in your life?
Well, I don't remember much for next 3 years, but when the years went by, I just in one moment I have this crazy like awakening. And I wrote that in my book because I have this almost like knowing inside that those words start coming out in my mind, saying that there is more. This have to be more. You made for more. And this was very interesting because I consciously thought about that. And I realized people were dying around me or who went to jail. And I started looking for a change. I was so tired of that lifestyle, but there is no change for people like me. I was a street junkie. There's no hope, no hopes, no dreams for people like me. And then through one of my friends, I met this lady, and she brought me to her house. She offered me fancy coffee and sweets, and oh my goodness, she looked like a celebrity, and she was kind to me. And it felt really wonderful and safe because somebody cared for me for very long time. I didn't experience this compassion from another human being in this way. And she told me that she would able to get me a job. Not really, no specifics, nothing, just say she can get me a job. But without much thought, I accepted, eager to escape because I thought it's a beautiful opportunity. So her team went to work, still on heavy drugs. I vaguely remember airport and how I got through customs. I'll never know. I just woke up one morning hearing the call to prayer, a Muslim call to prayer. Allahu Akbar, ran out. And I was confused and terrified because I was in a foreign country. So that's nice. That nice lady sold me into human trafficking.
Ooh, before we get there, I want to ask you a question. You said this lady brought you in and she was caring and she was loving to you. Like you never experienced that before. Because when you're a kid, you don't know. I mean, you probably know you're loved when you're a kid, but it's just you expect to be that way. So once you finally get old enough and you realize nobody gave a crap about me, and when this lady decided, she loves you, she's doing all this. I know you said that you kind of fell in immediately and you fell into her arms and you were grasping and loving her. Was there ever anything in your heart where you were like, this doesn't feel right because I don't know what it's like to be loved. I don't know what it's like to feel this way.
That's an interesting question. But honestly, that's what grooming is. They actually prey on a need. And because my need to be loved and to care for was so big, I
Okay.
kid you not, I think like I have like goosebumps. I think that's why I ignored the red flags, because there were red flags. Because I know I was young and naive, but even writing my book, I realized there was like few red flags, like what kind of job I have to be doing, why they cleaning me up, why I'm like doing this, why I'm like, so it's always been something in the back of my mind, but my need to be loved and to be taken care of and was so huge that literally I ignored all the red flags, I think. And honestly, that's what the trafficker do to groom a person, they actually find the need and they manipulate and they use the psychological means or threats or this kind of luring, they give you affection or support in any ways that we humanly need. Doesn't matter if we need food, clothes, love, they give you that, and that's kind of draw the person in. And that's what I'm advocating for, because sometimes we think, after watching lots of different movies, we're confusing kidnapping with trafficking. We're thinking if it's involved physical force or violence, that's trafficking. But actually that's slow. In my part, I already didn't have a family around, but they usually separate from the family and friends the victim, because it's easier to manipulate with guilt, shame, condemnation, whatever it is, and give them everything that they are need in that moment. So it definitely what happened to me. And so I would like to people be aware of that as well. Same as I went through the custom, nobody forced me. I went by myself, but I was so high, I didn't have my documents, I didn't
Mm.
speak for myself. So that's another red flag. Don't look or expect somebody gonna be like drugging someone with force. Look for something that out of place. Why this woman doesn't have her own documents? Why somebody else walking her around? Why she looking down or don't look at the people? Why she's anxious and paranoid? And by the way, guys, I keep saying she, but this is another misconception, because boys and men get trafficked as well. So make sure if you see something unnatural and you feel, oh, that's a red flag, why this is happening. So definitely, yeah, just stay vigilant, because you might save someone's life.
You know, I'm going to say this. I'm a very big advocate for the foster care system, because a lot of people don't realize that some of these people in the foster care system, if they don't get adopted, I mean, they're out of there 17, 18 years old. And what's their next step? And that's a lot of times they're trafficked. I mean, a lot of times they're trafficked, and it's, you know, it's it's mind blowing that this can happen, and it's happening like right underneath your nose. Like you said, one of your best friends could be the biggest trafficker in the world, and you don't know it. Um, but so you mentioned that this is happening to males as well as females. Kind of, do you know the percentage versus females versus males in the human traffic?
I don't know. Honestly, in the beginning, when I start researching, I did and use the percentage and everything, but now I'm just, I don't know. It's always the um like data always changing, and I'm not really looking into it, but I know it's probably, no, I'm not gonna speculate. I'm not gonna have you guys research, but it's pretty big. It's not something, um, I don't know how can I explain. Maybe one of the gentlemen said that on my podcast, and maybe that's gonna give you this perspective on what human trafficking is. It doesn't care about gender, it doesn't care about race, it doesn't care about age, it doesn't care, like, honestly, it can be as young like as 4 and as old as, like, I don't know, doesn't have even like ceiling to it. So honestly, there's nothing, like he said, nothing gonna stop this beast of devouring people. So it's not about male and female, anybody. And sometimes we have this misconception that, oh, it's only like the kids who do drugs or foster kids or kids who have a problem in the families or have like some substance abuse or they have a mental health problem. I know personally, I literally have a goosebumps, the families who has amazing parents, amazing families, and still their kids got lured into the trap. So there is no I don't know, boundaries and or some kind of avatar they're looking for. They're looking for brokenness, and brokenness can and trauma can be like anywhere, anytime. So they're looking for that need. And sometimes wonderful parents, but they're working a lot, and their child can feel neglected, not enough love, or it's like multiple children in the family, and they still seeking for the approval, something like that. And there they are, because trafficker actually, like we spoke earlier, it's a friend, sometimes it's family. I have another girl saying to me, man, if I knew the red flags, I would ask my cousin who been eating the dinners and come for Christmas and all this stuff, because she been trafficked for years and we didn't know, by the family members too. That's how crazy evil
Wow.
these crimes actually are, because we're always thinking like, oh, it's probably in Ukraine, oh, it's somewhere like in third world countries, somewhere not here. It's literally happening in our neighborhoods, in our cities, in our schools. And that's what breaks my heart, that anybody can fall into this trap and be victims, especially with what's going on right now, and then with the world and with COVID and online. Oh my goodness, we are so much online. We have to monitor our kids, we have to monitor our friends, we have to see those red flags. Why my kid or my friend was bubbly and funny and outgoing, and now like hides and depressed, and so many different things. If you have like this crazy change in behaviors, and I'm not talking about teens, like sometimes teenagers act like they don't want to talk or something like that, but if you see that they actually have drastically changed, like depression, paranoia, or something like that, or they start bringing home like $1,000 purse, like, or start dressing provocatively, or something changes like that, just ask question. You can dig in and you can realize like, whoa, it just like attitude change, try to like get approval in school. Or sometimes you're gonna hear and you say, oh wow, who is this secret friend that you're talking to? What he say? He said don't come for family dinners anymore. Why would he say that? Can like, oh, he said get another phone. Why you have two cell phones? I don't understand. We as adults, we understand those red flags, and we can lead the kids like, oh, friends or family out of it, because we're gonna be present, we're gonna be caring, and we're gonna give them what they're looking for, but in a safe place. If you don't know what to say and you see that some red flags and you feeling in your guts something wrong, there's trafficking hotline. You literally can call them, and it's what is this word? Oh my gosh, like what is this word I'm looking for? So they don't know like who is calling. Anonymous? No,
Anonymous.
not
Anonymous.
there's another one. Like one is anonymous, but they cannot identify you. Just slipped my mind. Anyway, so if they call you, they don't know like not your address, no nothing. You just call them and say, I need help. This is what happening. What can I do? Recommend me this. Or you can just Google in your country, in your city. It's 100% you can find non-profit that fights against human trafficking. Here in Canada, it's few of them fantastic ones, but I'm part of Fight for Freedom. They have a website, and in US they have underground operation, railroad operation, yeah, with Tim Ballard. You can Google that as well. But the point, go on the website. They have like huge free resources, online resources, online safety resources. You can call someone from that website and say, you know what, I have questions. They have counselors, they have people who can lead you through it to get us safely this person out as possible. Or sometimes they go through everything with you and say, you know what, your kid is just 13 and has attitude. But you know what? You never know. You have to still be diligent if you feel something is going on. Honestly, that's my to you guys advice, because you have to be careful in this time. And I think the biggest lie that we assume that it's never gonna touch me because I live in this perfect neighborhood and the perfect relationship with the perfect family with the, well, nobody have perfect. I'm just saying perfect. You have to do like quotation mark. If you see somebody perfect, that is not true. It just cover up forever. It's like Facebook post, but honestly, nobody have perfect. But sometimes we are assume that we have normal family, everything is good, you do your best, everything is fine, and it would never touch me, somebody else but not me. That is biggest lie. So you have to be careful. If you see something, if you understand something wrong, just dig a little bit deeper, because who knows what is there, you know.
Couple more questions for you, and we'll get you off here. First question would be, when your friend told you, okay, you can, you wanted a job. She's like, okay, I have a job for you. Kind of, how did she describe the description of the job? Like, what did she say? Okay, Lena, here's what this job entails.
You're funny. You're asking me like I went for the job interview. She didn't describe me any job. She just saying like I might give you job, and all I heard is like opportunity. Somebody gonna help. That's all I heard. I didn't ask question. I'm just go with the flow. And half of them like I'm on drugs. I don't really care.
Right.
It's not like I was sitting and saying, so how much you gonna pay me? How like I literally had no assumptions or anything. I was just like, yeah, somebody gonna help me. That's all I thought. Oh, and I really love the food that she fed me too. And I love the house that I've been, so my brain was literally was busy kind of soaking in the fact that somebody can be clean and have this food and stuff like that. So my brain was so broken. It did not really go into the details.
So how long were you in the system?
Well, I was like on heroin for 3 years. Then I was in Cairo, Egypt, and then I was trafficked to um, Israel, and I still was using drugs later on there, and ecstasy and alcohol and marijuana, and I was 2 years there as well. And when I came home, I ended up on heroin again another couple years. So altogether, probably like I was on drugs for a good 10 years. And not just the drugs, I was like in a heavy drug addict and alcoholic. Yeah.
And so you were in the human trafficking 10 years as well, or was it longer, shorter?
Well, I was sold into brothel in Israel, and then I get out, and honestly, by the grace of God, because people do not leave this kind of situation in life alive unless you have been rescued. But by the grace of God, almost 2 years later, they set me free and I allowed to go home. And honestly, it was very important what brothel you end up in, because the girls who came with me, they actually died when missing and never seen again. So when somebody for the first time called me a survivor, I I didn't even understand why they did it, because I thought survivor is somebody who went through the war or survived some kind of natural disaster. But then I Google, and that's what they say: when people dies around this person and this person get through, that is survivor. I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand. So now I own it that I'm survivor. And definitely I stopped calling myself a victim a while ago, because I don't want to feel like a victim. I don't want to because like when you feel and tell yourself that there is no hope. But now I give my life to Christ, so I definitely own the word survivor. And I'm so grateful that I went through it, and now I can speak about it, and I hope give hope to others, because honestly, not only I am quit drugs by myself, and I have a healthy family, healthy children, healthy relationship as well, but without God I would never get peace and hope and purpose and passion, and I could never imagine that this is what I would be doing, like I said in the beginning. But this is his plan, and honestly, I'm so privileged that I went through everything and can lead someone through it as well.
So I was going to ask how you kind of got out of the human trafficking, but you said that they kind of released you. What does that really mean? They released you because you did mention that a lot of people don't get out of it, and if they do, they get out of it dead. So kind of what does that mean? They let you go. They released you.
Well, because like I said, it was very important what place you end up in. I've been bought by the family business.
Oh,
So I actually had a bodyguard. Nobody could rape me or beat me. And I was even able to make a little bit of money. But after I pay off the debt for me, for them to bring me in and all this stuff, they let me go.
okay. I got you. So
Well,
you're
because I wanted to leave. It's not like they say, okay, your time is done, because I wanted to go and they didn't force me to stay. I think that's how it ended up. But it's truly miraculous, because more and more I'm learning about it. It was like one of those super miraculous story.
So you mentioned that you're in Canada now. Did you move from the Ukraine to Canada, or kind of how did you get out of the Ukraine?
Oh yeah, that's actually getting from bad to worse. So when I came from Israel, I was saving some money, so I thought I gonna start a new life. But my trusted aunt stole and spent all my money. So I end up having no money.
Whoa.
And I got so angry. And I remember I had this bracelet that I have, and I went and found the drug dealer, and I was on heroin again. Like literally, I went into severe depression, and I felt very betrayed. So I needed to make money. So really fast, I became a right hand of the #1 drug dealer in my city. So I have unlimited amount and drugs and influence and money. But after a couple years, I realized like I'm gonna be in the cemetery, because I was using the dose of 5 people, so that I'm gonna be dead,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna end up in jail, or somebody gonna be like somebody can murder me for these drugs. So there's again was this fear and kind of notion like pushing me, saying that there's something more. And this time I actually quit heroin by myself, second time. And the people don't quit heroin, especially doses like that, and don't walk away from these opportunities. But I felt that my life um, kind of was in danger, and I didn't know what to do. So second time I actually find the people and sold myself into trafficking again, because my body was the commodity, and I thought it's going to be my ticket to get out from Ukraine. But this time they brought me to Canada. But what was different in Canada, that I have a paper trail, so government knew that I was there. And the second one, somebody told me that in Canada you have rights. So I was over 20 years old. For the first time I heard that I have rights
Wow.
as a human being. So that's a huge one was for me. So I'm start thinking the government and police then back me up. So I ran away and I live in shelter. And my first year, I work in Canada Wonderland. I saved up money and I was learning English. And then I went to cosmetology credit school and got my license as a hairstylist. So I've been a hairstylist for 12 years. Then I owned my salon for 2 years. because you cannot just get out. You have to replace. It was so hard to work for minimum wage. I hate it, but I was so determined to be clean and come out from this life. It took me a long time, but yeah, I learned how to drive. I always want to learn martial arts, so I replaced the drugs with taekwondo. I got my black belt. I learned how to drive. I got engaged and get married to my husband. And then right before COVID, I actually closed my salon and I wrote the book. Well, I was writing the book for last 3 years, but when my salon got I chose to close my salon and I published the book. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm a professional speaker. I do podcasting. I sell in my book, and which is fantastic because salon wouldn't survive through COVID. But people buying my book online, and I've been part of some freedom conferences, and I just loving it. It brings me so much excitement. It's so thrilling, and as you can see, I love to talk, so God made me for this job. So yeah, honestly, writing this book, it was an amazing experience. It was like my therapy from between me and God. And I've realized that yeah, it's looking back from the new perspective as the healed, forgiven, loved. Like it was an amazing experience. It's allowed me to reconcile with my family. It's allowed me to reconcile with myself. It's allowed me to just love all of me, not me. I don't talk about me before God and then I met God and this is wonderful life. No, it's allowed me to actually embrace all of it together. Bad, good, ugly, wonderful. It's all my life. It's my story. It's made me into who I am today. And I'm really proud of mother and wife and the woman that I've become through all of this journey.
So what's the name of your book and where can people grab a copy of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Miraculous, My Journey from Hell to Heaven. And you can get in Amazon.ca, Amazon.com. And if you guys want a signed copy, you can shoot me email at lenacebula@gmail.com. And if you want to know more about me or my story, just Google Lena Cebula, should pop up. I'm all everywhere, in all the social media. So if you want to connect with me, you can do it through my website, email, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you choose. It's Lena Cebula.
Lena, look, I thank you. We've been on here about 45 minutes. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your story. It's because you think you're having a bad day, and then you hear stories like this, and you're like, your day is nothing compared to, you know what I mean? Because I always say I'm having a bad day, but then it's always like, well, somebody else is having a worse day than you are, and then to hear this story, it's kind of eye opening and mind blowing at the same time. So I thank you for coming on here and sharing it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, like you say, you have to be grateful. You cannot do
Yeah.
anything about your past or where you are. Well, you can do something about where you are, but you know what? There's always hope. You just have to persevere. Do not give up. Your life is valuable. You are significant. And there's people who are gonna love you and help you. You're not alone.
Well, Lena, again, I thank you for doing the podcast and guys, go order her book, listen to her podcast, Love and Beloved. I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it as well, and take her story to heart and actually learn something from it and realize that there's actually really bad stuff going on in the world that you just don't know about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, Lena, you have a good one.
Thank you. You as
Thank you.
well.
Yep. When this goes up, I will let you know on Instagram. I'll tag you on all that stuff as well. So you should know.
That's perfect. I hope it makes sense because we
No,
totally like I freestyle and I hope it is good.
no, I work either way. I've had to deal with people where you just have to pull teeth, but I love to have people that actually, when they want to do the show, they want to talk and actually get their story out there. So this was no problem at all. I actually really, really enjoyed it and learned a lot that I didn't know
That's
before.
awesome. Thank you. It's always different. I'm trying to like because I pray and I get into this vibe, I'm like, okay, how it's gonna go. And it's funny because it seems like I'm saying the same thing, but it's always completely different and I
Right,
get different experience and I truly love it.
right.
Oh, I love to talk about myself too.
Yeah,
So
but that's
it's
why we do
not really hard.
podcasts, because we all love to talk about ourselves. That's why we do podcasts.
No, you know what's funny though? The podcast, it's actually taught me how to listen.
Really?
So when, yeah, so I'm talking so much, and I don't know, like if you heard me like on Better Call Daddy, I listen to that and I'm thinking, and I'm on caffeine, or what the heck? Like honestly, I was so excited to be even doing that. So like I'm like talking so fast.
Mhm.
So this time I try to like, take a breather. And it's like it. So I want my thoughts to make sense because when I get overexcited and my Russian brain like kick in and I jump in from one thing, I'm like, man, just this is have to make sense for them, not for me. But when I actually interviewing, I have my questions, I have my map. I not always like follow the all the questions, but I kind of know where I'm going because I don't want me to go
Right,
talk
right.
out like all over, but it actually make me more listen and hear the story and stay quiet, which is was so hard for me, but it's been a year and I see this amazing value in listening. It's beautiful because I hear other people's stories and it's make me laugh or cry or think or sad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. That's why I really like to and come as a guest and being a host. It's great that like, yeah, God really taught me how to just don't talk. And in the beginning, I talk so much or I didn't talk at all. But now I feel like get this nice balance that like you did fantastic job. You and
Thank you.
asking question and allowed me to speak. So I thought it was very organic. So I enjoyed it.
Well, I thank you for coming on. I'm going to grab a copy of your book because I want to read the whole story in one big chunk, and get the actual
Thank you.
major details. But
Oh,
again,
absolutely.
I thank you for doing the podcast. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Same as here. Do you have like all my information, all the links and stuff, or you want me to email it? I don't remember. Did you have all my stuff? Like, do you
Um,
need anything?
I will get all of your links for your websites and all that. I will email you here in the next few minutes or maybe tomorrow,
Okay.
and I will ask for the link because I think this is going to go up on Monday. So,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yep,
Cool.
anything I need, I will email you or Instagram you, whatever we do. But I will get it out.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you
th-
and your help.
Thank you very much. You got have a good one.
Yeah. You as well. Bye.